I introduce hereby Dr. Vignesh Ram, in Department of Geopolitics and International Relations in Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Doctorate in Geopolitics and International Relations. And he has got a experience, worked in multiple organizations as a political consultant and then as a division head, senior analyst. Again, he is back to his academic position in areas including rare earths, semiconductor race, and he has also disinformation and AI-driven challenge.
Okay, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I have to say my PhD actually was on Southeast Asia, on ASEAN. And over the point of time, this has been an area of interest for me in looking at information warfare, cybersecurity and others. And especially with some time that I spent in working with the industry in political risk analysis, I did develop this type of interest and also was working very closely in advising or looking at businesses and how do they prepare for these eventual, geopolitical shocks, which are driven by this heightened sense of resource nationalism and others. When I was given this opportunity, I thought that what would really be a more contemporary geopolitical theme, which would be of real interest to businesses, especially a company like JanyuTech, which is dealing with technology and cutting edge technology. Just about 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to a tech lawyer actually. So he runs his own consultancy, and we were just discussing this very thing that in the future, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, we can very clearly note that geopolitics is going to be very strongly shaped by the advances in technologies for countries which are to innovate and able to go ahead in that race of innovation. And these days when we talk about countries having immense amount of power, which generally denoted in a more power of military technology, we generally tend to now see that countries which are able to control the information space, control the narrative, are able to very successfully turn around from the face of 21st century. That's where actually this topic is extremely important when we talk the question of info and how basically our very much informatized world is very deeply linked to the actual world and field of geopolitics. So what I will do basically run through information warfare and to understand what exactly is information warfare. So when we talk about information warfare, is, I would say, fairly a new edition in terms of understanding warfare in the 21st century. While there are several type of definitional aspects from around the world where we think about the question of where do we integrate information warfare in the whole aspect of warfare in the 21st century, we would tend to see that there are not very precise definitions in terms of classifying or categorizing information. So even a country like the United States, which generally does give a lot of declarations about its strategies, whether it's its national security strategy or for that matter, different type of strategies, we see that their definitions and budgets are still very fluid when it comes to the question of information warfare. It's somewhat a very type of a domain which is not really under the control of just one type of a military unit or a fighting force, right? So this I found to be a very interesting definition, and I felt that this should be shared to understand how we can divide the cat of information war. This is from the US federal government's definition, where they say that on one end we have the offensive end of information warfare, where we talk about overtly going ahead and sort of influencing or destroying the adversary's potential or perception about a certain thing. And this is very evident in today's wars, whether we are seeing the war which is happening in Gaza, or for that matter, the war which is happening between Russia and Ukraine. We see that there is a deliberate attempt to actually go ahead and dismantle most of the narratives and sort of spin the war of the other countries. So basically, this could somewhere also drive itself propaganda which is used during warfare, which has been one of the oldest tactics which countries have used against their adversaries. On the other end, we also have defensive type of information warfare, the defensive category, where while we tend to exploit the vulnerabilities in the offensive systems of other countries, we also have to safeguard ourselves and allies from similar action. It's also known as information warfare hardening. So when we talk about any type of, let's say, for example, cyber domain is used to conduct attacks against adversaries, also tend to realize that because of the network nature of the systems, it also tends to damage or attack or damage or our own systems as well. So having these capabilities to attack and have a sort of a defense from attack becomes very important when we talk about the defensive capabilities. The third aspect is quite interesting, which we term as exploitative, when we talk about the ability to exploit available information in a very timely fashion to enhance the decision or action cycle and disrupt the adversary. So this happens use of manipulation of different type which are present. Also depends sometimes on the regime types which we talk about, right? So democracies and non-democracies, for example, non-democracies would say, for example, democratic institutions in other countries, weaken them, discredit them at certain points of time to showcase that that system is actually not very important. So in that sense, if we have to categorize, we can see that information warfare can be placed in these three categories. Now, if we talk about the cyber attack trends which we are looking at, we see that cyber weapons have now not been have become very key in most of the important wars which we are looking at. So for example, when we talk about cyber weapons, they are used as tools of coercion and cover a wide range of activities that both state and violent non-state actors can utilize to inflict damage. So we have to understand that in the emerging trends, when we talk about the cyber domain used for warfare, it is not only states using it against other violent non-state actors like terror groups, increasingly using the cyber domain due this and because of which it can they can behind the wall which may cover their instances which they take. So of course different type of attacks which have done to the along as well, but trend which have been used, which has made it into a much more hybrid field, is to look at the cyber espionage capabilities and state sponsored cyber groups which carry out attacks in different parts of the world. This completely absolves the state role in against any other form of actor. And if you were to sort of find a reason to any type of an international action against another state, they could pretty well deny this aspect of anything, because of the state sponsored cyber groups are neither state nor non-state completely, because they are. So let's say that it is a very interesting of state-sponsored terror which passes against India. So in the cyber domain, state-sponsored cyber groups do the same thing in the cyber domain against other countries as well. Who uses these and a certain type of a you can see that these can be between state actors, which is a very well-known trend of how warfare occurs between two countries, for example. Then actors. So, state sponsored actors versus state actors, and non-state actors versus non. I will come to giving you understandings about these cases, which are very interesting for us to decipher this idea of how information cyber domain. So when we talk about state-to-state mode of attack, one of the best examples is to understand something known as Operation Orchard. So it's a first example of a cyber warfare that was designed to support, not directly cause real-world physical damage. So In 2007, it was estimated that Syria was on the verge of activating, or at least on the path to developing a nuclear capability. So the nuclear plant, which was enriching uranium, understood, and Israel had to carry out an attack according to its right of self-defense that it at that point of time placed in front of the international community. So it used the cyber domain actually to disable the radars so that its fighter jets could go into Syria and destroy the facility. So while we look at it as means to enable a classical type of military operation, we see that the strategic decision which involving all factors and the strategic reason to use this type of a mixed strategy was possible only because they had a certain type of a capability which was enabled through the cyber domain, and it of course did not occur without any collateral damage, because it did a lot of Israeli systems as well as they carried this type of an attack. Another very case when we talk to non-state actors was carried out by the United States in against the ISIS. So this is from the National Archive of the US Cyber Command, which was understood that the at that point of time was at its height and was controlling territory back in Syria, was very much used to radicalize individuals, to carry out other type of activities including their communications. So it as routinely used encrypted apps, social media, and splashy online magazines and videos to spread its message and also launch attacks. So this declassified document, the US Cyber Command, actually says that the thing known as Operation Glowing Symphony. Now, Operation Glowing Symphony was done so that the United States could carry out a concerted, targeted cyber attack against ISIS information data banks, its servers, and also its different type of entities who were supported online. And the very first time that its cyber command and its cyber capability to declare war on a non-state actor entity, which was the ISIS. And surprisingly, as you can read this report, it's available in the National Security Archives by the George Washington University. This particular report, though, majority of the retracting method which is used when these documents are put out, we can see that one of the major challenges for the United States was to talk about deciding a very traditional type of a kinetic strike against the ISIS and its infrastructure versus launching a cyber attack through cyber means against the actors. And what was realized of this quotes I could take from this documents on National Security Archives of the US says that when planning a kinetic strike, a commander must complete a formal process before nominating a target for attack, at which point the target is cleared for engagement. And most of these operators, however, had to their own vetting and deconfiguration process once the combatant commandant formally designated a target for a cyber attack, making it difficult to engage targets. So basically, in terms of decision making, when we talk about how are decisions made in terms of space when it's used, probably there is a proper concerted chain of action which is employed. However, we have to realize that this is fairly new in terms of completely relying only on the digital space to carry out these type of counter-terror operations. And if we are to understand the lessons from Operation Symphony and what did they gain, for example, analyzed the successes of the Operation Glowing Symphony. It did most of the databases were wiped out from these type of servers which were hosting this radical content. It also helped in slowing down the process of radicalization and de-radicalization, and also the communications between these type of actors were also countered. So in a sense, we can see that there are these type of new emerging methods in which counterterrorism operations are also taking place. Now, if we are to talk about the impact of this operation and on ISIS media networks, we generally tend to see that the second phase of this operation started media operations and provided intelligence to US about ISIS's operations. And so, if we are to look at a case study which was published the journals, it gave a very interesting account of the second phase and how it went much more deeper into from just disabling or removing the networks to producing some form of counter propaganda which was launched against the terror group and those who were influenced by these groups as well. So one of the other things was also type of mundane inconvenience the operations of the ISIS, which meant internet speeds extremely share any type of content. Where also at the same time it dropped connections and lost passwords, which made sure that it frustrated the ISIS as much as its network as well. So it was months of the operations launch, ISIS media operations severely degraded. Its network of servers were down and they were unable to reconstitute them, which meant that it did what exactly type of a traditional attack against the capabilities of capabilities would do on let's say if the critical infrastructure of another country is completely devastated, it would of course cause large scale damage and also civilians who are also killed. But at the same time, if you use these type of operations, it seems to be doing some type of a same job in terms of slowing down the capability of these terror groups as well. And the ISIS's magazine, known as the Dabiq, which was a cornerstone of its recruitment strategy, ultimately closed down part due to the operation difficulty imposed by this Operation Glowing Symphony. So as you can see that there are certain very important takeaways in terms of today's information age and network warfare, which we talk about. And it's not only in the traditional space of state to state wars which are occurring, let's say, between two countries, but more importantly, it is able to achieve a very important milestone in terms of destabilizing violent non state actors who are generally seen to be very difficult to counter because of various reasons and non-traceability and all of these issues, right? So, we're placing this in the context of warfare, we can actually see that information operations using these are quite continuously emerging as a threat. And mostly, information warfare also aims to spread misleading information in a strategically chosen country in order to influence certain type of public opinion. And as we have seen that influence of public opinion is an extremely important aspect when it comes to warfare. And we can very clearly understand that if we are warfare capabilities, the influence of trying to make the population of a country to dislike its ruling dispensation. This type of information warfare capabilities have become very important in today's day and age, especially when of countries are very deeply linked through social media and other aspects of it, which I will come to in the next half of this presentation as well. So when we dive deeper into politics, we see that digital disruption and weaponization of data has become extremely important as a key tool when we talk about this space. And there are three main trends that are driving the conversation about geopolitical threat of digital disruption. So one is the availability of non-state actors, even a few individuals, to actually use these technologies to wield influence and shift political outcomes on a large scale. As we are seeing that in several countries around the world, violent non-state actor groups, or even recently we have seen the lone wolf attacks or radicalized individual driving his car into people, who was completely also radicalized by certain content on the internet. Second trend is that authoritarian governments are using these type of new technologies to restricting access to the internet, to repress human rights, and also quash certain type of political dissent. And a context or a new term which has emerged these days is known as digital authoritarianism, and this completely pinpoints on the use by governments to completely of authoritarian governments to disrupt democratic processes in other countries. And the third is also the state actors using new technologies to spread disinformation, to discredit political opponents, remove certain type of opposing views, influence foreign affairs, and also this is not only during times of war. And we have to understand that when we talk about warfare, it is no more a defined area or a field which is occurring, and every single party and hold on to their vote for the national elections which were going to happen much later. So as you can see that there is a very tend to send us this information to targeted users due to tuned algorithm learning on a personal data. So based on this, you may never know that tomorrow a video which you may be seeing, which may be influencing you, may be so perfect, but it may be generated by AI and may contain disinformation geared to turning you towards the other side of the spectrum. See that free. So on the right hand side of your screen, this is a screen grab from the CEO of TikTok, who is a Singaporean citizen, of course, of Chinese descent. Before in a hearing before the role or the Chinese influence in TikTok and its parent company ByteDance. So we can see that businesses often get stuck between these type of capabilities, where he had to defend one, of course, very racist overtone towards him, stating that whether he was affiliated to the Chinese Communist Party, which he wasn't. And at the same time, we see that he had to completely clarify that though TikTok was in some ways emerged from, it had no connections with China, and this app was in a different form in mainland China itself. So when we talk about these type of issues in today's day and age, we see that there is a fear of the unknown, and there is actually an actual opportunity in these type of situations. So on your screen, if you can see, is the World Economic Forum report in 2024, which successively over the years has categorized AI generated misinformation and disinformation, and also cyber attacks as one of the key risks which are dominating countries and their security systems. So if you see the World Economic Forum report starting from 2022, 23, 24, you slowly see that this type of information driven threat to nation states is very closely also related to the other type of threats, which are geopolitical and socio-economic threats. You can see in the screen as well. So so our business is doing something about the question of this slow creeping in of artificial intelligence into the space of their day-to-day business operations, affecting business continuity and others. A lot of CEOs, a survey which was conducted by Ernst and Young, known as the CEO Outlook Pulse survey, actually most of the CEOs commented that AI may be good, but there is a fear of unknown consequences of AI, which also relies on the question of reputational risks, which are driven by some type of misinformation and disinformation generated about their organizations. And this is where probably Deloitte actually projected through one of its reports that having insurance for artificial intelligence related consequences for business can be a very big potential business area for insurance companies. So where it said that 2032, close to $4.7 billion in annual global AI insurance premiums can be given out, and this is a major opportunity within all the risks that are existing within the business space as well. So when we talk about the question of innovation power, which is a concept which is emerging in international relations, we see that the vulnerabilities which are faced by businesses from these digital attacks and data theft is very high. And there are various layers based on which these vulnerabilities generally tend to manifest. One, of course, is state to state interactions and conflicts, which we see. Of that, we see that the increasing use or weaponization of the cyber domain occurs. And also at the same time, we see that malicious non state actors acting independently or backed by states also carry out these type of attacks. So the estimated cost of a cyber crime worldwide, this is a projection starting from 2018, which was shown in trillions of US dollars, and is five. The IBM cost of data breach report comes a little close, or is a little optimistic in terms of the figures. But this projection, which has been taken from different graphics, we can see that about 23.8 to 8 to US dollars is the cost of cybercrime around the world. And this is where we see that there is a complete amalgamation of different type of activities or illegal activities which happen. There is no way of distinguishing or saying that cyber crime proceeds do not go to terrorism, or at the same time terrorism related extortion or any other type of money does not go to any state backed actors who want to destabilize other countries around the world. So making this distinction has become extremely difficult. So another dimension which is very important in this informatized world is not only about warfare which happens between countries, states, and but it's also between state and non-state actors, and also between non-state actors. And here's where cyber industrial espionage becomes very important. If you remember, in 2021, 2020-21, we came to realize that a large amount of malware has been placed in several of the software which was used in the several governmental departments of the United States. That was known as the SolarWinds. And this little known company was a service provider feeding into the systems of, let's say, something like the Department of State, United States. So they were these supply chain type of problems which are emerging with the within the cyber are also become major problems. Focused and determined approach is also used when we talk about the economic space, and theft of IP designs is one of the major things. Theft of military designs, for example, by state-backed actors of one country stealing military design secrets from another. It actually is a form of capability which is used to influence these countries from achieving their superpower goals. So finally, if we are to talk about where do we really place the position of actors and their vectors, this is on the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity. And if we are to associate the cyber threat actor with the motivation, we see that there is a whole bunch of different actors. And finally, to conclude with, in his treatise of history, the Chinese general Sun Tzu actually very importantly said that attack is the secret of defense and defense is the planning of an attack. So with the digital age, we are seeing that warfare is also changing. So I wanted to show you three contrasting reports from over the point of time, as to see that how the digital technologies have become very integral to today's day and age in how countries wage warfare. So in 1981, see that this is Israel launching an attack on Iraq, where Israeli jets flew into Iraq and destroyed what was supposedly a nuclear reactor known as Osirak in 1981. Fast forward to 2010, we see that the Stuxnet software bomb was facilities in Iran. over a 10-month period. And by the time they realized, one of the facilities which was affected was the Iranian nuclear enrichment plant in Natanz, which was supposedly to enrich it to weapons grade potential so that it could be used in Iran's making Iran a nuclear capable.